Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Fuhrman. Welcome to Vox Novus, the new voice. I named this podcast Vox Novus, Latin for new voice, to offer interviews that would give voice to the rapidly changing world we live in. But what about your voice? Do you feel empowered to communicate, embody your message, and speak your truth? Are there subtle ways to make our voices more powerful and effective? My guest this week on Vox Novus, Lynn Singer, says your voice holds your hidden gifts, passions, and power. Lynn Singer was born with a special voice and an ear for spoken language. For more than 30 years, she has helped people find their voice. She has taught acting, speech, and voice at Yale, NYU, the New School, Circle in the Square, the Actors and Directors Lab, the Gene Frankel Theater, and the T. Schreiber Studio in New York City. She's worked with a wide range of clients, from Tony, Emmy, Golden Globe, Pulitzer Prize, and Fulbright winners to Fortune 500 companies and top business and management executives. Lynn has appeared off-Broadway, on television and film, and was a well-known voice of radio and television commercials for 2 decades. Lynn currently offers private voice and presentation classes through her established lsvoiceworks.com practice. She joins me this week to share her path and her voice. Please join me in welcoming to Vox Novus Lynn Singer. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and a joy to be here.
Thank you. And let's start with your path and how it led to your body of work.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, let's say that when I was about 9 years old, I looked into the mirror and said, what's it going to be, a dancer or an actor? That got sort of, through college, I was not doing either very, very much. But then I had an incident that I had a Kundalini awakening that brought me to acting immediately. And acting and my voice immediately. And so all through my acting work, people were always asking me to help them because I was very intent. A lot of things were happening. And I became more and more aware of how my voice was working. From the very time I was very, very young, people would be commenting on my voice, but I didn't take it seriously until I decided that I had to be on stage. And then I began to study, and I began to work more with it as I was studying acting and as I was performing. And people, again, were always asking me about my voice and asking me to work with them on their acting and their voice. And this led to me investigating the voice, but through the body. I never did much investigation around. I had singing teachers, and I had great diction teachers. One of whom gave me my first job teaching, which was diction, and I went through it. I went deeper through my own voice, through the body connection, through bioenergetics and through yoga, and then later through Feldenkrais, because I felt I could feel in myself that when I was very free, my body had a resonance and a connection to my heart, to my love, to my being, that when I was nervous, when I was sick, when I hadn't had enough sleep, it shut it down. And this I knew would happen with everybody. But I became much more aware of the body-mind spirit connection with voice. And it wasn't just in my throat, that it was moving through my whole body. And that led me, people were always asking me for help, and that led to teaching very soon, very quickly. And it just started flowing from there. I taught privately. I taught at HB. I taught with people at HB Studio for the beginning, and then at NYU and at Yale and at many places around New York, the T. Schreiber Studio and the Circle in the Square, a lot of places, and privately. And I kept on doing work on the body, and I kept looking for the connection, more deep connections, understanding that the right side of the body was the male side, the left side was the female side. How did that come together? How did that make any difference in my voice? And then when I began to really connect into the spirit, the so-called spirit community in New York, that opened up a whole other level of understanding of energies and how the voice went out to the entire universe, which I never thought of before. Of course it would. Then finding out about bioacoustics recently, as we were just speaking about, and the energies, the different energies, and the lower energies and the higher energies. So it's been really forever. It's been really forever that I've been working with it and listening to it and inviting it in and speaking to it. I'm clair audio and clair sentient, and I know I'm clair visual as well, but I've not been activating it. I think this is enough right now. So working with my guides has also given me some information. I think 2 years ago, Archangel Gabriel said to me, who was one of my major forces, said to me that our voice on this planet is nothing like it really can be, because there is so much tightness, there's so much restriction on the planet that we have no idea what our voice could really sound like. Of course, that got me very interested to know where I could go then. And so I've been, grappling with that, about where to go to scrape off more, because I certainly I've done a huge amount of work on myself and with my students, with all the bioenergetic techniques specifically, which is bioenergetics is a therapy that's body-based. Where are the muscles constricted and where are they being held? And I remember having one singing teacher that said to me, and she was quite old when I was seeing her, she said, every year I find one muscle that I don't need to use, which I loved hearing that. So that's some of the story.
Touching back on a couple of the points and a part of the conversation we had before we started the interview, when did you really discover the power of the voice?
I think I discovered the power. Well, two things. I discovered the power in myself on stage. And I could feel this circle of energy from my own voice that was around me. And I could also sense that when I was in myself and I was speaking, whether it be acting or being instructing, that when I was in really deeply in myself, which I have an ability to do with character or with instructing, I could feel an energy of truth. in me. And it was like it was a channel. And I knew I was channeling. I wasn't talking about it, but I knew I was channeling because I did not have to think about what I was going to say. It was like being given to me. And I felt that very similar to acting, like you know what you're going to do, you know where you are, you've done all the work, and now you're opening yourself up to being a channel. And I could feel that really because I could feel how strong I was on stage and how strong I was when I was standing in front of a large group of people with instruction. And I also could feel it because a lot of the men I had worked with were sort of looking at me a little bit, like, what is this? She's different. She's different now. And so that opened that up, that it's a huge power, particularly the voice. It's like an enormous power. So it came through those two channels. And I also thought, because I've written a book called Breaking into Brilliance, which is about creative consciousness. And as soon as I began to write it, I went back to singing lessons. I mean, your voice is your voice, is your voice. It's my name, Lynn Singer. And I'm not a singer. But in 5th century AD, when there were all the troubadours and all the people that were, going from place to place, that were actors and singers and jugglers, singer meant everything. It meant acting, it meant speaking, it meant poetry, it meant all of it. So I've embraced that. I've embraced that name. And I think I've answered the question.
Yes, you have. And where did you find the greatest satisfaction personally in expression with your voice?
Well, those two when it happens that it flows through me when I was acting, which I'm not doing now, but it also did that writing. Remember, I could not. I was very constricted one night, and I was getting very upset about writing. So I went to see a film, came back, and as I was walking home, I heard, "Put your fingers on the keyboard. That's all you have to do." And I just would open the same way. I would open it up, and it would just come through me. And so I think that when I am now, it's when I am working with people and working with a group of people, and I just open the doors to that channel and just begin doing what I know how to do and really accepting it and believing it and just allowing it. And also I can hear in people's voices, I'm sure you can do this as well. I can hear who they are. Like I can hear if they're very intelligent, I can hear if they're sensual, I can hear if they're sensitive. I can usually hear like 2 or 3 adjectives. So it really has come down to channeling.
And as you shared with me before we started the interview, recently there was another revelation about the power of the voice and healing.
Yes, I was watching a film that was about healing. It was with Luke Wilson. Can't remember the name of the film. And it was about somebody coming into their own with understanding who they were and also healing themselves through acknowledging who they really were. And as the film ended, I heard a very loud voice, louder than usual in my head, that said, when you fully accept yourself as a healer, then everything will change. Because I'd always thought that my voice, because it was different and I'm small and people were interested in me because of my voice, I'd always thought that kind of drew them in. But I did not understand that my voice was a healing tool. I went to a seer and asked them about this, and they said, your voice is a healing tool. You not only can bring people to a oneness of their emotional life, of their physical life, but to who they are, to a oneness of themselves. And that is, I'm just drinking that in. I'm just having to still drink. This was a few months ago. It's very
beautiful, beautiful. Actor Edward Norton studied with you and said that you were the first person to illuminate for him the idea of training the voice to be a powerful and versatile instrument of character. How do those in the performing arts learn to use their voices to embody diverse characters?
How do they learn to use their voice to embody diverse characters? Well, the way I would do it and the way I work with people to do it is to go to that part of themselves that they are looking for that help them to create the character. Like I was very good at doing Blanche with Tennessee Williams. And so it just by moving into who Blanche is a different quality of my voice. It was still low, that's where it is, but I was able to, the Southern accent made a difference. If anyone is using an accent, there's always an accent. It's not necessarily very apparent sometimes. It starts to feed on you. The character itself brings you to the voice in you that's connected to the character, because every character we work on is either strengthening something in ourselves that we need to know, or it is a way of releasing something that is no longer useful. And so we have to look for those pieces. And I don't say this so much as work on the character with somebody or with myself when I was acting to see who I am. I mean, if I'm working on a Southern character, well, I'm certainly, they are so elusive and they're moving, like, is that your shit on the floor? There's is that your bundle? Is that bundle that I see on the floor yours? And they have their intimation. The intimation brings a whole other reality to who they are. And Blanche was so covered. She is, she's the artist, the mad artist. She's so covered, and she's so young in a way, and so old, in another way. Don't hold back with the apes, she says to her sister, right? So it was really, and it's just gold mining. But I also will tell you about Edward. Edward gave me this quote, and we were going to do an exchange because he was at Yale when I was teaching at Yale. And his girlfriend was studying with me at Yale. And then the two of them came to New York together. And they both ended up in the Schreiber studio where I was teaching as well. So, there was a long history. And we were going to do an exchange because I was going to Japan to teach for a couple of weeks with Terry Schreiber had been teaching there, and he wanted myself and some others to go. And so we started to do an exchange, and Edward was, I don't know what we were doing in Japanese, really. It was kind of just fun and silly. And we were then about to do the work with him. And he said to me, well, one of my directors is saying I don't need any work on my voice. It's fine as it is. And so, Edward, I still owe you voice class.
That's wonderful. Do these techniques also apply to performers who sing in both Broadway shows and classical opera?
No, I don't want to even touch that. I think that working with opera, I mean, certainly I do not know. I do not know about opera. I do not know, except that the diaphragm is there. And I do know that for all of speaking and singing, you need a free tongue. You need to be, the back of the tongue is so important for all of it, because the back of the tongue can hold so much tension. And I remember watching Jose Corrales on television one night, and I actually was working with the wife of one of the directors at the Met at the time on her speaking voice, of course. And Corrales, to make a high note, he actually, in the jaw, right? The jaw is two pieces, and the muscles connected. Well, he actually opened his jaw in a way I had never seen in my life in order to reach the high notes. And I thought, I've got to talk to this man. I never did. I thought, I've got to speak to him how he did that, because I almost had to close my eyes. It almost like he looked like an alien. It was so amazing, but I never got to him.
Almost a dislocation?
Almost.
Wow.
He like literally his jaw, which of course, if the jaw is tight, the tongue is tight. The tongue is tight, the neck is tight. It's all interconnected. And he was able to just relax all those muscles and move into the note. I mean, it was extraordinary. And I had to keep myself from closing my eyes.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. My guest is Lynn Singer. Lynn, please tell our listeners where they can find more information about you, about breaking into brilliance, and all the wonderful work that you bring to our world.
Thank you so much, Victor. Well, first of all, my email is ls@lsvoiceworks.com. My websites, I have 3 websites, but they're all under lynn-singer.com. And Breaking into Brilliance it's connected to that website. It's a online, interactive, voiced and animated book on breaking into brilliance, on the creative consciousness. It's also a soft cover, which you can find at Amazon. And I have 17 free podcasts, lsvoiceworks.com/podcasts, where you can find some work which might be interesting to you, to see and work with your voice. And I challenge you to record your voice and then to do some physical work and then to re-record and see if there's a difference.
Beautiful. And we'll be back with more of Lynn after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Lynn Singer. Lynn, we were chatting briefly about the spiritual aspect of the voice. Please share.
I know for myself that when I connect very deeply to working with someone or to working with myself, that there is a connection to the heart. And I have been working on the heart connection with people, with Clubhouse. You can find me on Clubhouse. And that has been very, very interesting, because then the true voice comes out. So what is this connection of the voice and spirit? I think, as I said before, everybody has different elements of their personality that can be moved through their voice. Certain people, I know I can hear it, I can sense it, and people feel it. They might not be able to name it. And when you're drawn to someone for some reason, and you can feel how their voice is affecting you. So let's just take the great voices that have made a very big impact in the world. Winston Churchill changed the course of history. JFK, with all the mishigas, this is a Yiddish word, Hebrew, not Hebrew, but Yiddish, all the junk around him, what he was doing in his life, there was something in him that wanted revolution. He really was going after making things better. He was trying to get out of Vietnam. His whole military complex was trying to keep everybody in, and he even said, I'm not in control of my government. He wanted something new, and we could all feel that. It's why he and his brother, Bobby, had such a force in the world, because we felt that. And I could hear that in Bobby's voice. I had trouble. I heard a lot of stuff that was troubling to me, but at the same time, there was an intent that was so strong. Dr. King changed our world by the power and by the intent and by what we were feeling. So I think the spiritual connection is about what we are feeling from someone. Because, and not just these great Julie Christie. I think of Julie Christie's voice, great actress. She was mostly well known in the 60s and the 70s, an incredible voice. Kate Blanchett, an incredible voice. And I feel that the voice affects us. We know that the words that we speak when we're talking to someone, about, 60% of the words are being recorded. The rest of it is the sound, how we are sounding, and how we are feeling. And if that feeling comes through us and is in the voice in a way that is shared by the archangels, then everything changes. And we all know that when we speak to babies, when we speak to animals, when we speak to our lovers, we have a different voice. Why do people not want to use that voice, that authentic, deeply sensitive, open voice? Why do they shy away from it? Why do they only save it for those days when they're speaking to their intimates or to their children or to their animals or to the babies? It's very hard for people to be that revealed. And I think that to be revealed and to be powerful. And another voice teacher in London, Stuart Pearce, who's a friend of mine, worked with Diana to strengthen her voice and herself so that she could find out who she truly was and move out of the firm and into her life. And though her voice was not strong, it was part of who she really was. And we always felt that with her, even at the beginning when she wasn't connected to the full beauty of her voice, because there was so much love in her. and so much goodness and so much protection and willingness. But that always, I get shivers just talking about her. Okay, and she is here while we are talking about her. I think finding that connection in ourselves to the heart voice is finding the connection to our own spirit. And I know for myself that I can be having a really hard day. And as soon as I start speaking, and as soon as I start teaching, speaking, and putting out that information that is needed and channeling for whomever I am speaking with, that my whole demeanor changes. It changes me. I completely shift. I've tried to shift it by meditation in the morning, maybe. I've tried to shift it by doing my exercises and taking a long, deep walk. It didn't quite work. It was very good, but it wasn't quite what needed because I came out of a bad dream, maybe. But as soon as I start moving into that channel and using it to work with people, I'm fine. I'm renewed. And I think everybody's got that. I think everybody's voice is a healing tool. So maybe I've got more of it. I don't know. But I think everyone has that ability because we've all felt it. We've all felt when somebody has said, oh, gosh, you were just so fabulous today. And we beam. We beam and we've become different. So I do believe that when the world can find itself in the power and the love and the clarity of their authentic heart voice, things will change. Wow.
And that leads to the discussion of speaking our personal truth. Why do many find this challenging, and how may we learn to speak our truth and also embody it?
We grow up basically not being told to do that. Very few people are told to do that, I believe. We grow up with an education system that's just been horrendous. I mean, I have a degree in literature. I didn't know who Virginia Woolf was until I was 35 years old. It was ridiculous. And we grow up learning to be guarded. I mean, the whole world is guarded. We protect ourselves. We pull in. We hear if our parents are not, and it's rare that our parents now better, much better, and the guys are so much better. They understand the women better. They understand the parenting better, and they're maybe a little bit too much. You know, what do they call them? The helicopter parents. They're on the children too much, but they have a sensitivity that they are bringing this newness into the world, and they have to hold it with a specialness and show it the love that's needed. I don't think many people grow up with this. They grow up hearing, don't do this, don't do that. They grow up hearing, where are you going? What are you doing? You better get educated. How to make money? Why are you doing this to your mother? Why are you doing this to your father? It's so much of the pressure to be good and to be in the world and from the schooling, it's, to get out there and pay your taxes, basically. I was not brought up to even think about doing anything that I'm doing now. It only came through me when I had the Kundalini opening. And I think that most people are not encouraged to walk on the wild side, to walk on the side of their truth. And when you're not encouraged to do that, to open to it, takes a lot of work. It's like opening, a door, a creaky door. It's a lot of therapy work, a lot of spirit work, and to feel comfortable saying your truth and living your truth and being in your truth. I think now the world is coming into that. I think it's some of the reason why we are quarantined in COVID. Like God said, you haven't been doing very well, have you? Back to your room until something happens.
That's an interesting take. With all that's happening, how important is it for humanity to learn to speak truth to power?
It's imperative if we're going to be here, because we're not. We're not speaking. I mean, most of, politically, I mean, the mess and the racism. I mean, we're not doing it. And it's going to get better. It is getting better, though, because I do feel that there's been a shift. There has been a shift from COVID and from people. I mean, I made fun of it, but people having to quarantine. There has been something different happening. I can feel it in myself. I cried every day for the first 6 months of COVID. Every single day I was crying. And I could have been crying all day long. Something was melting. Something more was melting. And I could see it in some of the, I could see it in some of the people I knew. And I'm sure, like you, I can feel the energy even on Zoom. And it's always interesting to who is awakening. But it's even the people that are fighting us to be awake are here now during this time of this evolutionary leap. And even the ones that we are fighting and saying, oh my God, why are they working like that? And who are they? Sorry for the sirens. Even those people, they're here for a reason, right? And they're part of this evolutionary leap. And the information that I got about the evolutionary leap that we are in now is that, and I've heard this before through a man named Gold something. He was working with the Aztecs. I believe it was the Aztecs, and there was so much information about the evolution that we're in, and we're in the ninth step of the ninth step, and we are at a edge of power and intuition. At the edge of power and intuition. I think we're in the last step of the ninth step. And I've also heard through my friends and people that have sought out to work with, that are seers, that are working with the Akashic records and other things like that, that every 25,000 years, the Milky Way has a shift, and it allows for an evolutionary leap. And it's happened twice before. And at that time, we did not manage to come through it. But this time, we are further along than we've ever been, even with all the mess that we're in, as possibly making that evolutionary leap to the fourth and fifth dimension. And the fifth dimension is pure love. And I remember when I was working with a quantum physics healer, I had a lot of work to do healing from this Kundalini awakening. It was like a breakdown, and I had a lot of work to do to integrate certain pieces. And when I was working on my book and asking her certain questions about it, I suddenly felt like we were in another place. And I was speaking to her about this. She said, well, we were on the 15th dimension. I said, well, I'm feeling like a Sufi. I've got this high hat on and I'm on an oval desk, and it feels like I'm helping to run a government. And I think I was very evolved. What happened? And she said, you came to Earth to help, and you got enmeshed. And I think that that is what has happened with a lot of people. And we've come to Earth to change the Earth because there's a lot of darkness on the Earth, and to shift that darkness and to be helpful in shifting it. And it's a big problem, and it's a big solution, and it's a lot of work. But that's what we have to do.
And we're all in it together. My guest is Lynn Singer. We'll be back with more of Lynn after these words on the OMTimes radio network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Lynn Singer. Lynn, part of my spiritual path has been advocacy on behalf of others who found it difficult to advocate for themselves. What are some of the steps that lead to powerful personal advocacy?
When I work with people on the voice, the first thing I say to them is, that's not your voice. That's a covered voice. You've been hiding. You've been hiding yourself. You've been hiding your voice. And when I work some of the bioenergetic exercises of bringing, and some of them really are very, very strong, to be kicking and to be moving the body all through sound, to be jumping, to be letting out and speaking their truth that's all underneath, that's been hidden. The anger, the rage, to allow that into the room. And with some people, it's really, really, really hard. So slowly, opening them up to being with themselves in that way is such a new feeling. But the more they did it, and everybody says, this is not me, and this is not my voice. And I say, yes, it is, but you have not been you've not been connecting to it. It's been too frightening. The more they connect to the power of the voice, the more they connect to the power of who they are. Because I have them up kicking. They're lying down, they're kicking. They are on their side. They're moving their body in a way that opens up the channels to the truth of their voice. And when it opens up the channels to the truth of their voice, it always opens up the channels to the truth of what they've been hiding. And slowly, because the loudness really shocks people when they really put out their sound, they get really scared. 6'2" big guys, they get really scared. It doesn't matter. And a lot of the athletes have used their voice when they've been playing football or they've been playing baseball, because it's a part of the camaraderie, it's also a part of the game. And they hear it as only connected to that. That's when I can be really loud and really strong. And they don't know how to have that in their other life, in the fullness of their life. And the women, of course, I work on power. That's what I'm working on with everybody. The women come in from some of the corporations, and the men are screaming over them all day long, and particularly when they go into meetings. And so they have to learn. They have to learn to really put themselves out. It's scary. The only time I ever said no to someone, I'm not going to work with you, was this very beautiful French woman whose accent was so compelling that every time she opened her mouth, everybody shut up, which I said, I'm not taking that away from you for a minute. But most women, it's so scary. It's so scary to put that out. And when they do, when they feel that energy, and the energy is there, they have felt it in other places. They have felt it dancing. They have felt it singing. They felt it in sex. They felt it when they're running, but they haven't felt the fullness of it when they're speaking. It's incredible. It's wonderful to watch it.
Absolutely. So many are seeking to return to work after the pandemic and are perhaps preparing for job interviews for new positions. What are some of the tips you might offer them for these sometimes challenging meetings?
I'm working with somebody right now like that. And I've been working with him for a while. And we've been working on the breath and on the first thing they can do, even if their voice isn't there, is to do breathing exercises, is to do yoga, is to get their body calm, is to learn how to feel the calmness in their body so that when they're in front of somebody, that's what they exude. And that's what brings that other person to them. So, and I'm also working with them on visualization, something we haven't talked about yet, to see themselves in the powerful position, to see themselves, no matter what happens in that particular interview, that they give who they are, and to also see in the interviews that they really want. They see it happening. They see every tiny detail of the interview going their way. But basically, it's the breath. It's the relaxation. Go to a yoga class before you have the interview. Sit down with yourself, meditate before you're going to your interview. Lie down, do some of my exercises. 17 exercises for the voice. They're all body-based. Work on opening your face. Really massage your face. Massage into your jaw and relax the tongue by just letting it hang out. This would relax this would be a signal to relax the body. It's very hard to relax the body, giving it a signal to relax the throat and the tongue and the jaw. But when you relax the jaw and the tongue and the throat, the body starts to relax. Isn't that interesting?
And of course, we want the tongue hanging out before the interview, not during the interview.
That's right. But the back of the tongue is a very powerful place, as you know. It's connected right into the larynx. So if the tongue is tight, everything else is tight. You're tight. Your diaphragm is tight. Your larynx is tight.
How may the voice be used as a tool in sustaining proper parenting?
Oof. Oh my gosh. Well, to always remind yourself, even in the height of fury, this is your child, and what voice you use with your child, to speak. Look, so many people just start yelling, right? I said, don't do that. Rather than sitting down and talking, let's talk about why this isn't a very good thing for you to do. Let's talk about other things that you could do rather than this. I think that it's the voice is connected to the action. If you're going to be yelling all the time, that's what you're going to get back. You're going to get a child who is reactive. But if you are in your voice, in your body, and looking for the good of this child, and your voice follows, you're going to create a security in the child. And it's going to be connected to that soothing voice.
And how may the voice be used for sustaining wonderful relationships?
I think I think if you have a good relationship, you probably are open to the authenticity with certain, that's a tricky question, because the people that you are authentic with, your voice will follow. And the people that you, even if you have not found your true authenticity, if you have not in your heart voice, whatever authenticity is in you, with even the voice being closed, it follows when you are with somebody that you trust, that you love, that's a very good friend. I now try to be in that voice with whomever I'm speaking to. I have one godchild who is so sensitive, and she just flies off the handle, absolutely off the handle all the time. And it's her fear, and she wasn't real, her sensitivity was so strong that they didn't really know how to deal with her. Nobody did. And I always just keep speaking. They always speak to the place in her that she knows who I am to her. Mm. And that she might still keep screaming, but that starts to calm her down. And it also, I'm trying to really use, even in the places and with the people that I'm not feeling comfortable with, I go to my heart voice because it brings out information in the situation that is jarring, maybe, to both of us. And it changes the whole climate of the room, because I am demanding of myself not to be reactive. It's hard. It's hard. I've listened to Marianne a lot about that.
Mm-hmm. The old expression, listen twice, speak once.
Yes, but it's also speak from a place in yourself that speaks to the other's fear. It speaks to dissolving the other's fear. And that is tricky, but it just cuts through it. You know, it cuts through all of the intensity of what can lead to arguments.
Absolutely. My guest, Lynn Singer. Lynn, one more time, please tell our listeners where they can find out more about you, about Breaking into Brilliance, and all of your wonderful work.
Lynn Singer, lynn-singer.com, holds 3 websites, all of which take you to my voice work, lsvoiceworks.com, and to my book, breakingintobrilliance.com. And Breaking into Brilliance is an online interactive voice animated book online. It's also on as a softcover on Amazon. I have 17 free exercises, voice and body exercises at lsvoiceworks.com/podcasts. You can reach me at lsvoiceworks.com. And I'd love to hear from you.
Lynn, from my heart voice to your heart voice, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Victor. This has been a pleasure and a joy.
And thank you for joining us on Vox Novus. I'm Victor, the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.